It looks like Joseph Parker, the New Zealand heavyweight prospect contender, however you want to call him, is going to be fighting Eric Molina next time out. Now, Joseph Parker's a difficult one. He's so good, you want to see him go up against better and better opposition to test him further. But at the same time, I've got to remember, the guy's 23 years old. He's a heavyweight. He's going to take a lot of time to fully develop. And there's no need to rush him at all. No need to rush him whatsoever. You know, the heavyweight division could be a lot clearer in a year's time. Fury, Wilder, Klitschko, potentially they're all going to fight each other. Potentially that's going to get rid of one or two of the top contenders. Maybe it's a better time for Joseph Parker to strike towards the top 10 of the division in a year's time strategically. When I first heard about the Eric Molina fight, I was slightly disappointed. I appreciate that Eric Molina has some Mickey Mouse rankings with one or two governing bodies, but let's be honest, he isn't a top heavyweight. It wouldn't be a struggle to name 20 better heavyweights than him who are currently active in the division. Personally, I do think it's borderline whether he's even a top 50 heavyweight. I know Boxrec have him listed in the 40s, but I think there's just a better calibre of guy out there than Eric Molina. Now, what does Molina bring to the table? He's 6'4", so he's a relatively big guy. He's 32 years old, so, you know, he's kind of not too old. He's still got a pulse. He's got a reasonable knockout percentage, you know, and he's going to keep Joseph Parker busy. He's going to keep Joseph Parker moving in the right direction. You know, it's not a bad fight. What it isn't is an exciting fight. It's not a fight that has me sort of desperately anticipating it. I don't really view Molina as a much superior fighter to the likes of Jason Petway, Sherman Williams, you know, maybe a bit better than Brian Minto, but you know, he's in that kind of league of guys. You know, he's not top tier, he's not second tier, he's kind of a third tier of heavyweight, if you like. And I think Joseph Parker's performances recently have put him solidly in the second tier. Now, before making this video, I rewatched two of Eric Molina's fights. The first one was Chris Arreola. Now, Chris Arreola, love him or hate him, carries power like Joseph Parker. He's got decent hand speed for a big heavyweight. Joseph Parker's hand speed is better. But Chris Arreola proved too much for Eric Molina and got him out of there in a round. You know, essentially Molina was slightly sloppy, throwing overly aggressive offence, left himself wide open. He got caught and he didn't have the chin and the durability to survive a big punch from Chris Arreola. Now, with that in mind, arguably the writing's already on the wall for him. You know, if he's leaving himself open like that, if he's getting caught with shots like that, if he's being too aggressive without thinking about defence against a guy like Joseph Parker, who's punching harder and harder and getting better with each fight, you know, I still remember that stunning KO of Beto Costa Jr. You know, if he leaves himself open like that, he's going to get knocked out. And he could get knocked out in a round or 2 rounds like he did against Chris Arreola. Molina, I watched his more recent fight against Zambano Love. I'd also seen that guy fight Simon Briggs recently. You know, he's a durable guy but pretty limited. Anyway, Molina was the better man. You know, he didn't look spectacular though. I think he got a stoppage in the last round, like a TKO, but he, you know, he's very route one, jab cross, jab cross. He didn't have too many surprises. He didn't look like he was an overly fast puncher. And one thing that stood out for me with Molina is his footwork and his movement was very, very poor. He wasn't a smooth, subtle mover. He didn't have lateral movement. He was slow-footed, plodding forward. Very, very, very Route 1. Very Route 1 indeed. So, I think a guy like Joseph Parker, who's more athletic, who appears to carry more power, is going to have easy work with Eric Molina. The only concern I would have is in the Chris Arreola fight, Eric Molina kind of went to war in round 1. Joseph Parker doesn't want to do it. You know, and Joseph Parker is a person who has been sucked into wars early on in his career. He's got to maintain his discipline. He's got to stay strict with himself. He's a superior athlete, a superior mover, a superior combination puncher. He's got better punch variety. His body punching is better. He's got faster hands. Do not give up your natural advantages and just stand in front of Eric Molina, who also is a 6'4" guy with a decent KO percentage. Do not get sucked into a war with Eric Molina. Do not let this guy cut you, clash heads with you. You know, don't let that happen. Stick to your discipline. Use your legs. Use your jab. Use your boxing pedigree. And I think eventually this guy's defence will open up and you'll be able to knock him out. I don't see it as an overly difficult fight for Joseph Parker as long as he keeps the discipline. Now, the only thing I would say is I think it is sensible to keep him at this sort of level of opponent. You know, I don't think there's any need to rush him and need to get him fighting the top 10 heavyweights just yet. But what I would say is there are perhaps more interesting names than Eric Molina in the division, you know, for someone like Joseph Parker to fight. You know, guys like Kevin Johnson. I know Kevin Johnson doesn't necessarily fight a good fight, but he certainly talks a good fight. You know, maybe you could have brought in a guy like Christian Hamer. That sort of level of opponent. What I'm getting at is, to my eye, Eric Molina doesn't really add very much to Joseph Parker's resume. But maybe I'm underrating him. I think it probably is a sensible move from his handlers, but it's not a move that leaves me overly excited. What I want to see from Joseph Parker is a continuation of his recent discipline performances, a continuation of his boxing, and I'm confident that he'll win by stoppage. Let me know your thoughts. Thanks for watching.